gone.
How many people was interviewed, Dr. Emmett?
Were interviewed?
First of all, how many people, based on what you know about it, given the incident, and how many people do you think could potentially give evidence about the trajectory of this particular drone on this day? Like, are we dealing with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people?
It looked to me, and this is just my estimation, perhaps 15 or 20 people would have been within the frame.
So this was some sporting event, was it not?
Right.
A rugby game. You can't... It's unlikely that you've only got 15 people.
Oh, I'm going by what I saw in the video.
All right.
The video that I saw
let's-
didn't actually show the
pick,
game.
Let's pick 15 or 20 people just here, although I'd be surprised if the number wasn't higher. How many of those have been located and interviewed by your investigators?
Well, the first thing we'd have to do is identify who those people were. We were able to
Dr.
identify...
Ellick, listen,
Yeah?
seriously. Come round, I'll put an hour into it for you. I'll identify who it was in the parliamentary wings here that were playing rugby that day, if you like. But my question is, how many of those did you locate and interview?
We identified one person who was the closest to a likely infringement of suspect, or subject, I should say, and we attempted to interview that person. We obtained some information from that person's office.
Who's that person?
That's a member of parliament.
There's a member of
It's a member
parliament.
of parliament. Prefer
So
not
who
to
was it?
say
What's
so.
the name?
Tell us who the member of parliament was. I know who was on the Facebook video that was broadcasting out there, but who was the member of parliament?
Thank you.
Senator, while Dr. Ellick is looking for the information, I'll make a point if I may. We would not, for a similar event around the country, I would not invest significant investigative resources in interviewing 40 or 50 people for an event like this that did not result in a serious outcome. I don't have the resources to do that. If it resulted in a serious outcome, I would. If someone was injured, I would.
So you wait till something's happened.
Well, Senator, I could not. I do not have the resources.
No, you're consistent on that, Mr.
for
Cumming.
every
You're consistent
drone
on this because
point.
5 months ago you sat in that seat and told us there's nothing to worry about because we haven't had an incident. So you're consistent. Wait till something goes wrong, then we'll panic.
That wasn't the point I was making, Senator.
That's the point I'm taking. I'm telling you. You can correct me if you think I'm wrong. You're consistent in this
what
area.
I was saying, so, Senator, if I may make the point again, what I was saying, and we had the discussion about another incident, is that we have limited investigative resources and we put the investigative resources against offences, significant offences. I would not go and interview 30 or 40 people for this event.
You shouldn't have to.
I haven't got the
It's as plain as
resources.
the nose on the end of your face.
I hope you don't mind me
No, please.
interjecting, but
I want to know who the member of
look,
parliament is.
I wasn't even going to buy into this. I was half asleep here when this started. But look, do you mind if I turn to a line of questioning of Dr. Ellick? So far you've indicated that you identified one person and you reflected on the inability to identify others because you weren't aware of their identity. So the one person you spoke to was a member of parliament.
Yes.
Let me ask you, Dr. Ellick, surely question 101 from your investigator would be to the member of parliament, who else was here? And I assume the member of parliament ought to be able to tell you with about an 80 or 90% accuracy how many people were here and who they were. Now my question is very specific. Did your investigator ask the individual, the member of parliament who you're about to identify, as to who else was present and how many there were?
If our investigator had the opportunity to speak...
If you don't know the answer, Dr. Ellick, say, I do not know the answer.
I do not know the answer,
so
but I can assure you that that question would have been...
There's no need for you to editorialise. I ask you to take on notice with your investigator whether they asked the member of parliament who was there and how many there were, right? But you're about to identify the member of parliament who was interviewed.
The member of parliament whose office was contacted was Michelle Landry.
Yes?
And as I explained, our efforts to interview Ms. Landry were unsuccessful at this point.
So we're dealing in months here. How many efforts have been made to engage with Ms. Landry over the months?
Well, I'll take that on notice. I'll take on notice, but Ms. Landry was identified only relatively recently. We had misidentified her as somebody else in the frame, and that was corrected.
Can I say to you, I honestly could walk out of here now, I may. I'll make a couple of phone calls and I'll bet within less than 10 minutes, I'll bet you a carton of 4X beer, that I can come back to you with a dozen names. Right? And I'm no longer an investigator, but I'm in the building.
I wouldn't doubt it, but when someone contacts someone, says an investigator from the Civil Aviation Safety Authority seeks this information, you know, oftentimes we don't get the responsiveness we would like.
Oh, Mr. Ellick, this is lame.
Can I just say this? I mean, why wouldn't you just issue an infringement, because there's clear evidence that there's a breach of the rules?
Keep it going for 5 minutes.
Issue the infringement, and if you get taken to court, well, that's how infringements work. The police don't sit down and say, look, I think Senator Gallagher was speeding, but I'll need to interview every motorist that he was driving with, or who was in the car. It's evidence, visual evidence, it's breached the rules, give them an infringement, behaviour change. No one takes an infringement to court when they've done the wrong thing. You're coming in here saying, oh, we would have no possibility of getting conviction. That doesn't stand a pub test, as Senator Steele said. The bloke that got fined at Bunnings, and you've got a penalty unit there of $180 and 50 penalty units, and you say he was fined $900. If you times 50 by 180, it's $9,000.
Senator, a penalty unit is an infringement, and under the legislation, it's assessed at a fraction of the amount a court could fine if the person were found guilty. 5% is what we apply.
So 5 times 180 becomes $900, Senator.
The other thing is
Well,
that when
that also would have great difficulty getting through the front bar of the Blair Athol Hotel at 9 o'clock at night.
May I say also, Senator, that when a police officer issues a infringement notice for someone speeding, the police officer is present and witnesses it. And
But
the
you've
police
got
we
video
weren't present.
evidence. Someone's put it out there, as with the Bunnings case, that they've actually boasted about flying down to Bunnings, picking up a sausage, and you've taken action, quite appropriately in my view, and you've issued an infringement. When it happens around Parliament House, you take a different view. You can't find witnesses, you can't interview people, and you have no prospect of successive prosecution. Simply, you should have issued the infringement and let the other person defend themselves.
Senator, there are any number of other cases where we have had evidence of an offence, of a contravention, and we've not issued an infringement notice. We've also issued a counselling notice.
Well,
So
I think we in this place have to set a higher standard. And if we do something that appears to be in contravention of rules, regulations, we have to be held to account. I fully accept that. And you as an entity in charge of, safety, aviation safety, when you have a pilot breaking the rules and you wander around as if it's too hard, it doesn't look good.
And Dr. Ellick, you're right. You have had footage and other incidences where someone's flown a drone in the wrong place, and one was the person who we're talking about now, his employer. We know that, so yeah, well, you've done that. But let us get back to this. This footage shows clearly going over Parliament House. I can tell you now, the camera wasn't in the back of a magpie's bum. It's pretty clear.
Is that Parliament?
Well, maybe it was. Okay, maybe I'm on the wrong planet. Flying over Parliament House, flying over the playing field, flew over the road. There's a road out between Parliament House as it goes over this magnificent building here, heading towards the rugby field. It goes over a road. You're just so full of inconsistencies. And to go back to what Senator Gallagher said, why wouldn't you issue the offence and say, mate, you go defend it? You're a pilot, you should know better.
The decision whether or not to issue an infringement notice as opposed to take some other action is a decision that's made in the context of a consultative exercise in which someone from the investigations area is involved. Normally a senior lawyer from the enforcement area is involved, and a representative of the operational area, which is normally the person who has the ultimate decision to decide which way to go.
I'll make a statement here, Chair, rather than the question. You ping any other Australian for breaking these rules, and you don't think we're going to come back here and say, well, here we go again? You cannot be serious. You are the enforcers. You are the ones that lay the rules down. And you are so blinded because politicians or political employees can get away with murder around your rules.
Senator, if I may...
Defend that.
Senator, if I may, I'm quite happy to provide on notice lists of where we've provided counselling letters for similar offences. Senator, I didn't realise that, from what Senator Gallagher said, that you were after a higher standard. I thought you were after the same standard. We're very happy to provide notice to show where we've issued counselling letters as well, if that
Have you
would help,
had to
Senator.
counsel any pilots for breaking your rules in terms of usage of drones?
Senator, I have to take it on notice. We've counselled a number of people, and as I said, it depends on the circumstance. And we find a number of people, and it depends on the circumstance.
Now, Chair,